Hello, everybody. Carlton Pearson, live streaming consciousness right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Forgive me for being just a couple of minutes late tonight. So much going on. Been going since about 4:30 this morning. So that's live. This is live. I'm alive. You're alive, and we're here together to talk about some things that I think will be important to you. I only share stuff that touches me or moves me. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the four agreements. I've been reading the book. I don't know if you've heard Oprah make reference to it several times on streaming consciousness. But I've been reading it and I love it, and I want to share portions of it with you tonight. And I'm reassessing at this time in my life what it means for human beings to agree with themselves, to believe in themselves, to align themselves with themselves, for us to align or become allies of our own souls, not somebody else's projections of us or on us. I want to talk about taming the real wild you, if that's necessary. Does your soul need to be domesticated? I posted that. Domus is the word for home. Do you need homework? Does your soul need a home outside the body or in addition to the body? Does your soul need to be domesticated? And if so, why? Why does your soul need to be tamed? Are you wild? Are you raw? And if so, is that wrong or awkward or inappropriate for you to be your wild, rare, raw self? Chapter 1 is titled Domestication and the Dream of the Planet, which we'll get to a little bit later. The laws of agreement. The word agreement means to have the same opinion about something, simply. It comes from a Latin word, tu plus gratas, meaning to please or pleasing. You agree with what pleases or pleasures your soul, not just your mind. You believe things in your mind, but you agree in your soul. And whatever you agree to becomes your belief, and your life becomes what you believe it is, or what you project on it to be. We're very powerful spirits. We're very powerful beings. We're very powerful entities. We're phenomenons. We're science. I love the way Anton Mesmer says, Jesus is the man, Christ is the science. You and I are the human, but our Christ consciousness is the knowing. That's what science means, the knowing or the knowledge. And you've heard me say repeatedly, there's a difference between what you know and what you believe. You believe what we're taught or told. We believe what we experience personally and powerfully within ourselves. So you agree with what pleases or pleasures your soul. You do that inadvertently. I want you to do it by choice and intentionally. But because the conflict comes when you don't realize what you've agreed to, and it's conflicting with what you believe, or what you know in your soul. So we become what we agree with, or what we agree to be or become. What pleases you, and with what do you most agree in your soul? What pleases you? What pleasures you spiritually? And what do you most agree with within yourself, within your soul, within your being? What does your raw, rare, and wild self or soul desire? What pleasures your soul? I'm not talking about your flesh, your soma, that's your body. There are things like food and sex and stuff that pleases the body, but what pleases your soul or pleasures your soul? Because you tend to agree with what completes or accomplishes, and the word accomplish means complete. What accomplishes or satiates, satisfies your spirit being, your soul. It is a sense not of perfection, but of completion or maximization, the full expression of yourself. Now, these are individual tools that I'm developing and learning and creating in this second half of my life. Religion, which I was very involved in the first half of my life, sort of sabotaged some parts of me, not what I was doing, because I was an expert at what I did. I was good at what I did, and I'm good at what I do, but I haven't always been good at what I am or what I'm becoming. So I'm working on that, and I don't think it's too late. It's when I'm supposed to. Maybe I'll live a lot longer than I was anticipating I'd live because I'm really starting to live. So life is not just about what occurs, but with what you concur. The English origin of the word concur, really in its original tense, had something to do with collide and or act in combination with. What you concur with is what you collide with sometimes or act in combination with. It's from a Latin word, concurre, which means to run together. Assemble in crowds, from together, and currere, I think it's called in Latin, which means to run together. So we often ask, who are you running with? Who are you running, buddies? We tend to hang with those with whom we agree, including thoughts, opinions, and impressions that really satiate you, that somehow satisfy your soul. That's what you hang out with the most. When there's conflict, it's because what you believe does not agree with what you know. But your soul agrees and allies itself with what you know more than what you believe. Our minds wrestle with what we believe and what our spirits know. So whatever agrees with you then becomes your soul's dream and your soul, S-O-L-E, dream. And sometimes disagrees with the social dream, to which I will refer in a little bit. That's the common cultural dream of the planet, which is influenced by what we're taught and told, and has created this awkward being on Earth that we human beings, not having this kind of teaching through religiously and missing it spiritually, we've created a very tense planet because your soul knows you're okay. Your soul knows everything is okay, but your mind believes otherwise and then creates what it believes to be its reality. Some things you're not, and I posted this week, it was a quote from Abraham Hicks. Some things you're not letting happen right now because the timing isn't perfect for you. There's certain progressions and successions in your life, or successes in your life, that you're not allowing to happen right now because the timing doesn't seem perfect for you. You're suspicious of it. You like that it should occur and maybe will occur, but you're disallowing it to occur right now. Some things you're not letting happen because you are very aware of where you are, and you don't feel prepared or repaired to allow it to happen. Notice I said prepared and repaired. But all things as they are happening actually in perfect order. You know that. You just don't believe it. So you protest or contest, resent or resist a reality that you think should not be occurring, or you resent the fact that something is not occurring that you want to. I'm guilty, if I can use that term, of that. I know what that's like. But if we relax and begin saying everything is in its perfect time, in a broader reality, everything is in divine order. You know that in your soul, everything is unfolding, and I'm enjoying where I am now in relationship to where I'm going, not to where I want to be, but just to where I'm going, which is ultimately what my soul has a contract to achieve. So I'm content where I am, and I'm eager for more. That's a perfect vibrational stance, says Abraham, which Jerry Hicks and Esther consider themselves channeling, and I kind of like this curious concept because the things they say are powerful. What is the vibration? To vibrate is to quiver. That means to move back and forth, to and fro, with a quality or emotion, sometimes a commotion or devotion that has you moving. You don't see it. You don't always even feel it. But deep within your soul, you know it. You're in motion. You're crawling and craving and crescendoing with the energy and the ambition of the soul. It's moving you along through life. It moves back and forth deep inside you. This vibration, it can be bothersome. It's almost, irritating or like an irritant. It's like a wound. That's the Greek word for trauma. This insatiable desire is almost like an injury, like a pain, like a physical sensation. You can't avoid it. Your dream can be your pathos or your pathological self. You're being moved through the universe with that energy. By pathos, I mean a quality that evokes pity and sadness for yourself. You feel like you're being deprived of something, and your soul knows that's not true. But you think it is, and your soul knows it isn't. So it's painful. Pathology is the science of the causes and effects of disease or dis-ease. That's what pathology is. The tensions, the attentions, and the intentions of your life. There's no way around it. You are an intentional being and an intended being and an attentive being, except when you ignore. When I say when you ignore, that doesn't mean that you don't know. It's that you refuse to acknowledge what is obvious to you because of the way you believe. So you'll keep hearing me refer to what you believe and what you know, and what you believe, and how they conflict. They don't have to, but they tend to. Vibrations, sensations, provocations, invitations, invocations, incantations all work in concert with a higher reasoning or a higher reality, a higher logic. The Greek word is logos. That's the word for word in Scripture. And the word, logos, became flesh. Everybody talk about the word. That's not always a reference to some written words. It's from the logic of God, the logistics and rationale behind divinity, at the base and birth of divinity in your soul. The word becomes flesh and dwells among us as us, not just Jesus, the man, but you. You are the word become flesh. You are the logic and reasoning of divinity. You are divine mind expressing itself in the universe. You're powerful. And the tension you're experiencing is that you know that and yet don't believe it. So all I'm trying to do is remind you, you should remember your dismembered self, the part that's fragmented, a little bit in the last relationship, a little bit in your childhood, a little bit in some futuristic ambition. You fragment. So you need the restoration of the soul, restoration of the self to agree with who you are. It's powerful. Metaphysically, the word becomes flesh and dwells among us as us, but I'm talking about ideologies, ideas, and logics, ideologies or logos, constantly at work within your heart of hearts, and move you forward in consciousness. This is happening habitually and automatically. You are evolving. You and I are evolving. And yes, it's a little bothersome only when it's strange to you, when you start anticipating it and welcoming it and wanting it, it becomes more friendly to your soul and system. But if you are suspicious and frightened because of the ignorance of it, or you insist on ignoring that it's there, then there's a huge conflict. It can cause physical maladies. It can shut you down. So ideas don't, and I actually heard George Vinette, my friend, say this the other day in the house, and I repeated it. Ideas don't schedule themselves. They just show up. Now, they may be scheduled by some other entity or reality, like God or divine mind, but they don't schedule themselves. Sometimes ideas appear to be enemies of things, as they are. You get this idea, it's like something that you're creating in consciousness that isn't already there in a noticeable or experiential way. Ideas come as extensions of your soul's curiosity. You're inquisitive by nature. Inquirers want to know. So don't apologize for this curiosity. Don't apologize for your ideas. Embrace them. Embrace your renewed and inquisitive self, and your automatic flow or fluidity. Be at peace with yourself. It's all good. You can do this. So now I want to refer to something that Don Miguel Ruiz, in his book, The Four Agreements, A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom, writes in the first chapter. He titles it, Domestication, the Dream of the Planet. Domestication, the Dream of the Planet. Now we are evolving. The planet feels wild. We have domesticated or tamed the planet and tried to make it more friendly for human existence and consistencies. So we have automation and technology, and we're growing, and we're taking agricultural area, rural areas, and turning them into urban areas where we have what I'm talking to you on a live computer tonight, and lights and stuff, heat and air and food and comforts that people didn't have the same way we have it today 100 years ago. That's good and healthy, and it can be a challenge. So the domestication of the dream, and the dream, the fantasies or fabrications or imaginations of the planet. To domesticate, the word is from the French word domestique, from Latin domesticus. Domos means house or domicile. The domestic, the housing, the home of consciousness, the home in reality, the safe place and space and pace of your being. And we have all these dreams. So he says, Maria says in this first chapter, what are you seeing and hearing right now? What you are seeing and hearing right now is nothing but a dream. What does that mean? What I'm seeing, what am I envisioning or viewing or previewing, and what I'm hearing right now is nothing but a dream. You are dreaming right now in this moment. We all are. You're dreaming with a brain awake, a brain that is awakened. You are dreaming with your brain awake. You're not asleep. Your brain, your consciousness is alert and alive, and you're dreaming. You're envisioning. Dreaming is the main function of the mind, he writes. And the mind dreams 24 hours a day. It dreams when the brain is awake. It also dreams when the brain is asleep. The difference is that when the brain is awake, there's a material frame that makes us perceive things in a linear way. Line by line, precept by precept. We go to sleep. When we go to sleep, we don't have the frame, and then the dream has the tendency to change constantly. You're not always aware of the dream or the change of or in or within the dream, but it's occurring all the time. Humans are dreaming all the time. That is, we are imaging and imagining and fantasizing and transfiguring or figuring into and trying to figure out stuff all the time. Before we were born, the humans before us created a big outside dream that we call society's dream, or the dream of the planet. This is Ruiz's words. The dream of the planet is the collective dream of billions of smaller personal dreams which together awake. All these dreams, and there are billions of them, and they start awakening spontaneously and randomly. And we hear the voices and opinions and decisions all around us, and we try to sort through what all that means. Dreaming is the main function of the mind, and the mind dreams 24 hours a day. I'll say it again. It dreams when the brain is awake. It dreams when the brain is asleep. When we go to sleep, we do not have the frame. Okay, remember that. And the dream then has this tendency to change. That's where people sort of get off, because the dream really, you can be awake with one dream, go to sleep, the dream changes while you sleep or within the sleep. Then when you awaken, you don't even identify it or recognize it as the one you had, or any way connected to the one you had before you went to sleep. The dream of the planet is the collective dream of billions of smaller ones. So we can perceive millions of things simultaneously. But using our attention, we can hold whatever we want to perceive in the foreground of our mind. There's all kinds of stuff out there. But based on where we focus attention or tension or intention, we then can perceive things more with greater focus and greater clarity. It's all out there. We hear it all. We see it all. And the fingerprints of all those thoughts are all over us. The adults around us hooked our attention and put information to our minds through repetition when we were children. I'm very, very cognizant of this in the recent transition of my 88-year-old father, and now my mom's 85. And I was saying the other night, somehow you never feel fully adult as long as your parents are alive or in your world. Daddy left. A part of my adultness manifested and continues to. First it comes out maybe a little resentful or angry, I don't know. A little austere, a little assertive, a little rambunctious, quietly riotous. It's like, wow, I got free. I'm managing it out because I'm 62, but some people lose their parents when they're 6 or when they're 2. I've had my parents all these years. So by using our attention, we learned a whole reality, a whole dream when we put our attention on it. We learned how to behave in society, what to believe and what not to believe, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, what is good and what is considered bad, what is wrong, what is right. It was all there already. All that knowledge, all those rules and concepts about how to behave in this world. When we got here, somebody had already set that up, and they started sharing it with us, projecting it on us, in us, to us, through us, as us. When you were in school, you sat in a little chair and put your attention on what the teacher was teaching you. Can you remember doing that? I certainly do. When you went to church, you put your attention on what the priest or minister was telling you. This is right out of the book, Four Agreements. I just love it. It's the same dynamic with mom and dad, brothers and sisters. They were all trying to hook your attention, and they did. And you have tensions in your life and intentions in your life automatically and habitually that they projected on you. We also learn to look or to hook the attention of other human beings. And we develop a need for attention, which can become very competitive and very compulsive. I added that part. We hook people. You're always hooking and haunting and hunting. It's your nature. Children compete for the attention of their parents, their teachers, their friends. We do it as adults too. Look at me. Look at what I'm doing. Hey, I'm here. Validate me, affirm me, confirm me, tell me I'm okay to be here. Welcome me and try to even want me. The need for attention becomes very strong and continues into adulthood. The outside dream hooks our attention and teaches us what to believe, beginning with the language that we speak, whatever that language is. Language is the code for understanding and communication between humans. Sometimes it's nonverbal communication, but usually it's verbal. Sometimes it's nuance, it's insinuation, it's suspicion, it's expectation, it's projection. But we do communicate. Language is the code for understanding. Every letter, every word in each language is an agreement. That's a pretty powerful statement. Every letter, I'm quoting the book, every word in any language is an agreement. We call this a page in a book. The word page is an agreement that we understand. You hear this stuff, you feel this stuff, you sense, you anticipate, and then somehow you agree. Once we understand the code, our attention is hooked and the energy is transferred from one person to another. Now this is happening 24/7 when you're awake and when you're asleep. Your dreams, again, wake or sleep, keep this thing going. And remember, psychologists tell us how they determine it, I guess it was brain waves, that everybody dreams all night long. We just don't remember perhaps 90% of it. Some people remember nothing. But you do dream. The soul imagines all the time. It was not your choice to speak the language you speak. For us, it's English. It wasn't your choice. You didn't choose your religion or your moral values you think you have. They're already there before you were born. We never had the opportunity to choose what to believe or what not to believe. We did it habitually. We never chose even the smallest of these agreements. But they're made, they're firm and confirmed. We didn't even choose our own name. As children, we didn't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs, but we agreed with the information that was passed to us from the dream of the planet by way of other human beings, beginning, of course, with our parents. The only way to store information, I said not receive it, but store it, is agreement, compliance to, acceptance. That's the only way you store the information. The outside dream may hook our attention, but if we don't agree, we don't store that information. That's where our forgetfulness comes in. When you forget something, it's because you didn't store that information. You didn't really buy into it. As soon as we agree, we believe it. And of course, this is called faith. Once you agree with it, you believe it, it becomes your faith. And faith is powerful. To have faith is to believe unconditionally. Isn't that interesting? That's how we learn as children. Children believe everything adults say. At least they tend to. Children, teenagers don't. But teenagers' disbelief is based on what they believe or were taught to believe. Did you hear that statement? And so are yours. All your disbeliefs are based on your beliefs, even if you consider yourself an unbeliever. We agree with the adults, and our faith is so strong that the belief system controls our entire dream of life. We didn't choose these beliefs, and we may have rebelled against them. Millions do, but we were not strong enough to win the rebellion. I'm struggling with it now. I call this, the writer, process the domestication of humans. That wild, real, raw, rare you that hasn't been overcooked or over-edited. The process of domestication of humans. And through this domestication, I'm reading right from the text in the book, we learn how to live and how to dream. Of course, I'm making commentary all along. In human domestication, the information from the outside dream is conveyed to the inside dream, creating our whole belief system. Now, you're going to have to listen to this again to get all of this, or just go buy the book. Of course, I'm making commentary throughout. Because I'm fascinated. When I read something or see something, I want you, if I go to a good restaurant, I may tell you about it, or people around me. Have you eaten this? Have you seen this? Have you read this? Somebody will text me something and say, watch this, Pastor, or watch this, Carlton. And I do, because they like it. Now, first the child is taught the names of things. As a child, we're taught names of things. Mom, dad, milk, bottle. Day by day, at home, at school, at church, from television, we are told how to live, what kind of behavior is acceptable, and very often what to think about all of this. The outside dream teaches us how to be human or humane in this earthly human culture, or we would not know. It would be the same in the animal world. We have a whole concept of what a woman is, supposedly, and what a man is, supposedly. And what we also learn to judge. We have opinions. And I said to you, I think last time, and I'll say it repeatedly, the strongest idol, maybe the only real idol on the planet, is our opinion, our eyes, our perception, or our view of things. We all have a view or perception or opinion or option. Ophthalmology comes from the Greek word ops, for eye. Perception is the ultimate reality, not necessarily the ultimate truth. We have a whole concept of what a woman and a man is. And we also learn to judge. We judge ourselves, judge other people, judge the neighbors. Children are domesticated the same way that we domesticate a dog or a cat or another animal or pet. We even try to domesticate God through prayer, sometimes through fasting. I try to train God to respond to my needs or my wants or my opinions or my views or the way I think the world should be. I was saying to my mother, who was really believing God to resurrect my dad for a period there, a part of her didn't want to let him go, and so she stopped eating and prayed for God to manipulate the destiny of her husband and my father. She did that for all of our children. I do it for people. I don't really realize I'm actually trying to pull strings with some divine entity that we call God and get that God to follow my instructions prayerfully. Sometimes in the name of Jesus. We're trying to manipulate a reality over which we have no control, but we presume that we might. We imagine that we can ask God to let our football team win, or our kids get a scholarship, or our marriage last or be stronger, or that our singleness is satisfactory, or our children or our parents or our siblings or the world. We have Congress and judges and courts and books and education, and we're always manipulating stuff in a way that, and I'm not faulting it. This is not a criticism. It's a curious observation. Because we've created what we're experiencing. You created what you're experiencing. So we train our children, whom we love so much, the same way that we train or domesticate an animal, with a system of punishment and reward. We're told you're a good boy, you're a good girl when you do what mom and daddy want you to do. We were told that. We tell our kids that. When we don't do what we're told we're a bad boy or a bad girl. When we went against the rules, we were punished. Society, the culture, your parents, we were punished many times a day, and we were also rewarded many times a day. Soon we became afraid of being punished and also afraid of not receiving the reward. That's in all of us. It filters into all of our relationships, from those with our pets to our parents, to our spouses. The reward is the attention that we got from our parents or from other people like siblings, teachers, friends. We soon develop a need to hook other people's attention in order to get the reward. Think about this. You're always hooking and hawking and hunting. We want the reward. We want acknowledgement, validation, confirmation, affirmation. Whether you are the president who was voted in or out of office, whether you're a leader, a mayor, a sheriff, a police officer, a priest, a preacher, evangelist, you want the people to like you. You want them to affirm you. You want them to listen. I'm on here thinking you're listening and that you care what I have to say. It's like here I am projecting ain't nobody got time for that. I mean, I'm talking like I have something to say that's important. I write books, I read books, I share stuff. Who's interested in what I have to say? Well, obviously you are. And millions are. Why? There's a certain reward I get in this hunt or hope. You do too. So with this fear of being punished and the fear of not getting the reward, we start pretending to be what we are not, just to please others, just to be good enough for someone else. You've heard me say we spend our lives impersonating who we think people want us to be, and in the process, we lose who we are or never encounter our true, authentic, or authorized self. Autism, self. It's all about self. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Automatically. Authenticity. Authorship. Original idea that sponsored and spawned your existence on this planet or in this plane of consciousness or this plan. We try to please mom and dad. We try to please the teachers at school. We try to please the church. And so we start acting, performing, literally. We pretend to be what we are not because we're afraid of being rejected. Come on, you better listen to me tonight or today, whenever you listen. The fear of being rejected becomes the fear of not being good enough or not being God enough. Eventually, we become someone that we're not. We become a copy of mama's beliefs, dad's beliefs, society's beliefs, the religion's beliefs. All our normal tendencies are lost in the process of domestication. Being tamed, dumbed down, if you will, controlled, manipulated to find a new domus, a new domicile, a new home. And when we are old enough for our mind to understand, we learn the word no. The adults say, don't do this and don't do that. We rebel and say, no, we got a whole generation of teenagers or younger people in larger numbers than ever in the history of the race, the human race, who are saying, no, I don't like what you've been telling me or selling me. I don't buy it. I'm not going to go to church. I'm not going to believe in that God or maybe any God or not one you enforce of. I'll create my own. I'll do my own thing. I'll wear what I want to wear. You see these kids in these big clothes that don't fit. That's their way of saying they don't fit into this culture, into the belief system. They don't like the dream. They wear their pants half-mast. I mean, they're like a quarter of an inch from mooning the whole world. You sing half the crack in these guys. They won't pull their pants up, and we can't make them. And they're saying, I'll do what I want to do. I'll wear or not wear what I want or not want to. So, no, we rebel because we're defending our freedom once we become aware of it. It's like runaway slaves, Harriet Tubman, the Underground Railroad, Jews that escaped the torture and torment of the Eastern world, Hitler's Third Reich. Others that escaped Europe, like the original Americans that came from the British tyranny to create another society. And then it has become almost tyrannical, or is becoming that way. We want to be ourselves, but we are very little, and the adults are big and strong when we're children, so we get intimidated. We actually get angered by that. After a certain time, we're afraid because we know that every time we do something wrong, we're going to be punished. So the domestication is so strong that at a certain point in our lives, we no longer need anyone to domesticate us, and we will not allow it. I think at 62, I went through this rebellion. I'm still going through it. It's not anger. It's a resistance to an illegitimate restraint of my soul and of myself. Sure, people liked me differently back then, but a lot of people like me and I like them differently today. What's happening with you? Who likes you? And who the frick cares? You do. We don't need mom or dad, the school, or the church to domesticate us. We're so well trained that we become our own domesticators. That's where the conflict, because we are taming ourselves. We don't need somebody else to do it. We are an auto-domesticated animal. Isn't that brilliant? Auto-domesticated animal. That's Mr. Ruiz's words, Miguel Ruiz's words. We can now domesticate ourselves according to the same belief system we were given and using the same system of punishment and reward. We do that habitually. We punish ourselves when we don't follow the rules according to our belief system. We reward ourselves when we are the good boy or good girl. Even as adults, the belief system is like a book of law that rules our mind. Without question, whatever is in that book of law that we have legitimized is our truth. Our adopted truth or our borrowed truth. We base all of our judgments according to the book of law. That's a conscious and unconscious legalization of the mind. Even if these judgments go against our own inner nature, we still judge ourselves based on those rules. Even moral laws like the Ten Commandments are programmed into our mind and the process of domestication. One by one, all of these agreements go into the book of law, and these agreements rule our dream, our personal and our powerful dream, because there's a lot of faith in the dream and in the dreamer. There's something in our minds that judges everybody and everything, including the weather, the dog, the cat, everything, based on that book of law and the dream. The inner judge uses what is in our book of law to judge everything we do and don't do, everything we think and don't think, and everything we feel and don't feel. Everything lives under the tyranny of this judge. And I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about you and the culture that you agree to. Every time we do something that goes against the book of law, the judge says we're guilty, we need to be punished, we should be ashamed. This happens many times a day after day, for all the years of our lives. And that's where sickness comes from. We presume that we should be punished for something. So we welcome it and expect it and really invite and invoke it into our lives. The tensions and the frustrations, we are judging ourselves continually. I've done that all my life. I'm awakening to the fact that I'm doing it and putting forth and learning the tools to change that habit and that hobby. We've actually made a hobby of it. There's another part of us that receives the judgments, and this part is called the victim. I just have a few more minutes. The victim carries the blame, the guilt, and the shame. It's the part of us that says, poor me, I'm not good enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not worthy of love, poor me. The big judge agrees and says, yes, you are not good enough. And this is all based on a belief system that we never choose to believe. These beliefs are so strong that even years later, when we are exposed to new concepts and try to make our own decisions, we find that these beliefs still control our lives. I'm 62 years old and go through that almost every day. And I'm only pointing it out because recognition is the beginning of the freedom. You don't want freedom, and you won't be free until you know that you're bound. Whatever goes against the book of law, the one you've adopted or agreed to, will make you feel a funny sensation in your solar plexus, and it's called fear. Breaking the rules in the book of law opens your base. The book of law opens your fear-based mentality and creates an ambiguity and an anxiety that is very difficult to manage. These beliefs are so strong that even years later, we're exposed to new concepts, try to make our own decisions. We find these beliefs still control our lives. You there? So, I think there's a very powerful development occurring on the planet. There's a shift in religious sensibilities, and because of everything that's in this book of law has to be true, anything that challenges what you believe is going to make you feel unsafe. That's why there's all these wars, and that's why ISIS and the ISIS people know that a lot of what they believe about Allah or God or the Quran doesn't make sense. And so there's this huge conflict within them that expresses itself and manifests itself as them. That happens on the streets of Chicago, here in Tulsa, New York, LA, Miami, London, Paris, Pakistan. That is why we need a great deal of courage to challenge our own beliefs, not fight others' beliefs, but challenge our own, because even if we know we didn't choose all these beliefs, it's also true that we agreed to all of them. The agreement is so strong that even if we understand the concept of it not being true, we feel the blame, the guilt, and the shame that occur if we go against these rules. Just as the government has a book of laws that rule the society's dream, unfortunately, our culture has one, and our minds have these rules. And unfortunately, your identity is mixed with the dream of the planet. All of your beliefs and agreements are there in the fog. You feel the presence of the parasite and believe it's you. You stop liking yourself. This makes it difficult to let go, to release the parasite, and create the space to experience love. Yes, it's cost me a lot to be different and to rock the boat or go against the goads or the pricks or the tide or the tradition. But I'm getting free. We tend to be attached to this judge, and we seem to be attached to this victim. I wrestle with it every day. Suffering makes us feel safe because we know it is that we're being corrected, or we think we're being corrected. There's really no reason to suffer. The only reason you suffer is because you choose to suffer. If you look at your life, you'll find many excuses to suffer, but a good reason to suffer you will not find. There's no good reason to suffer. When I say forgiveness is giving up the right to be right, not the reason, but the right to be hurt. When you forgive, you're giving up this sense of entitlement to be angry. You give up the right, not the reason. There's a lot of reasons that we can concoct to be angry or hurt or vindictive. When you forgive, including yourself, you give that right up. The only reason anybody is unhappy is because they choose to be unhappy. Happiness is a choice. So is suffering. Maybe we can't escape from the destiny of the human, but we have a choice to suffer our destiny, to endure it or enjoy it. You decide. To suffer or to love and be happy is your choice. To live in hell or to live in heaven. Your choice, mine is at least, the writer's is to live in heaven. By creating it on earth. Some people say, don't take my hell away. I need hell. I want to go to it and go through it, and I want anybody else that disagrees with me to experience it. And if I'll help God put hell on them. I'll become a cooperative friend of a devil. I need a devil. I need hell. I'll be the devil. I'll create hell. That's what we're doing. And we use scripture to justify it and verify it and clarify it and certify it. We can stop this. All we have to do, as Wayne Dyer says, is change the way we look at things, and the things we look at will change. I so want to see this occur in my own life, and I thank you for allowing me to share in your consciousness these powerful, pivotal, prophetic transitions and evolutions and expansions and extensions. It's yours, it's mine, it's ours. We don't just want to make a difference in the world. We'd like to make the world different. Now, does that sound manipulative? It's part of the assertion of the self. There's a world I experience in my spirit that my belief system denies. And there is a belief system that conflicts what my soul and cells experience in the ethereal reality. It's yours, it's mine, it's ours. Let's embrace this mystery or missed story and see how we can create something more powerfully experiential and more positively experiential. I'm Carlton Pearson. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consciousness. We're going to continue to do this. We're shifting a lot of things with some interactive things, some public things. Neil Donald Walsh has agreed to come to Tulsa in May. And on the 14th, he's going to be downtown with me with a live interactive audience. A minimal charge to come. We're going to fly him in, and he's going to sign books, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to spend time together. We're going to try to do this around the country and other places. Dallas, maybe out west. We're choosing some cities. We're working through the dates now, but he is confirmed to be here on the 14th of May. That's a Thursday night. And instead of 8:30, it's going to be at 7 o'clock, and we're going to have a great time. And we're going to talk about his recent book, He wrote the book Conversations with God, and we're going to have conversations about God or about divinity, or our concepts and fantasies about an ultimate, more accurate reality that people like to call God. Anyway, I want you to be a part of it. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you. And I always like to say, God be you.